Okay, so today we will be discussing the e-commerce and supply chain management. What we will going to define and understand what is really supply chain management, and of course, what is e-commerce. So previously, other groups discussed about the bullwhip effect, supply chain management. So now we will thoroughly discuss it by defining what is really supply chain management. So these are the learning objectives. Okay. Okay. Now let's define supply chain and supply chain management. So a supply chain is a network of all activities involved in delivering a finished product and services to the customers. So typically, ang supply chain is a steps that involve in getting a product from the farm or factory to the customer. So it is a step-by-step process. It's a network. So sourcing of raw materials, assembly, warehousing, order entry, distribution, delivery up until to the end user is what is supply chain all about. So supply chain management is the vital business functions that coordinates all of the network links. So this coordinates movement of goods through supply chain from suppliers to manufacturers to distributors. This also promotes information sharing along chain like forecast, sales data, and promotion. So basically, if there is something that will happen in the network or in the chain, automatically all of the chain will be affected. That's why it is very important to determine what particular area is concerned in the chain. Okay, components of the supply chain. We have three. We have external suppliers, we have internal functions, and of course our external distributors rather. So for the external suppliers, these are the source of raw materials. These are the suppliers. These are who produce the product. I know the raw materials. So typical example of external suppliers are the following. We have tier 1. The tier 1 supplier supplies directly to the processor. So, ang supplier, mag-supply siya sa processor. For the tier 2 supplier naman, supply directly to tier 1. So, ang tier 2 supplier will supply to the another supplier and that supplier will supply to the processor. For the tier 3 supplier naman, these are the supplier that penetrates to the various suppliers. So, that tier 3 supplier can supply to another supplier and of course can directly supply to the processor. For internal functions, this include processing functions. So this involves processing, purchasing, planning, quality, and of course the shipping. External distributors transport finished products to appropriate location. So after external suppliers will go directly to the internal function and of course after going to internal functions will go directly to the external distributors where they will transport the finished product to the appropriate location. So this has a logistic managers that are responsible for traffic management and distribution management. So logistic managers are also responsible for managing the movement of products between locations. So from one location to another, this includes gaano katagal yung transport from one location to another distribution or to another warehouse. So here you're going to they're going to arrange various methods or various shipments for both incoming and outgoing products or material to ensure that the traffic of the products or the transport or the distribution of the products will have a smooth flow. Okay? Or manageable lang yung distribution. Okay, movement of material from manufacturer to the customers. So these are the typical example. This is a very basic example of what is supply chain. Okay? So customers, retailer, local distributor, regional distributor, and manufacturer. So here, you're going to see somehow the bullwhip effect from the previously discussed task sa mga group members. So here, customers will have a demand, and that demand will go directly to the retailer, local distributor, regional distributor, and manufacturer for the processing of that demand into an output. Going back to the customers. So, what is bullwhip effect? So, bullwhip effect is the inaccurate or distorted demand information created in the supply chain. So this is distortion of demand across the supply chain. So here, kung may bullwhip effect, there is this inaccuracy of information or distortion between areas that can create a bullwhip effect. So what are those causes or what causes this bullwhip effect? So we have this demand forecasting, or there is this inaccurate data information in forecasting the demand or or the updates of it, the order batching, the price fluctuation, rationing, and gaming. Okay, how to countermeasure the effect? Of course, change the way suppliers forecast products demand by making this information available at all levels of the supply chain. It is very important also to share real demand information, example na ng mga POS. Of course, avoid the order batching and stabilize pricing para ma-countermeasure mo yung possible bullwhip effect, because a bullwhip effect will always be or somehow be present kasi this is a very basic effect in supply chain. Okay, so issues affecting supply chain management, we have this IT. So this include enablers, include the internet, web, EDI, intranets, and the like. We also have this e-commerce and e-business that uses both internet and web to transact business. This is very common nowadays, but it is already present way back on 1970s. So e-commerce is defined as the use of the internet and the web to transact business. So there are two types of e-commerce that are business to business and business to consumer, or the B2C. So the types of the e-commerce, so we have this very common, which is the business to business. So the evolution of this are started pala in 1970s. May automated order entry na tayo noong 1970s. Imagine, murag wala pa ko ani na tao pero naa na ang business to business. Electronic data interchange also happened in 1970s. We also have this storefront na nag-emerge in 1990s, and already we have this net marketplaces in 1990s where it's like palengke na you can really get what you really wanted on that certain area, on that certain marketplace, but through internet. So that's the beauty of this one. So benefits of the B2B e-commerce, we have this low procurement administrative cost since this is an electronic commerce. So there is a minimal amount of physical structure and low cost access to global suppliers, lower inventory investment due to price transparency and reduced response time, better product quality because of increased cooperation between buyers and sellers, especially during the product design and development. So, business to business or B2B is like a supplier to processor na engagement ng business. So, supplier mo, processor mo, then that is a business to business. Then, selling it to the consumer. For example, yung mga sa China mag-assemble, sa China mag-manufacture, kay ang China ang supplier, then ang China karon maghatag atong nagpa-supply sa ila, nangitag supply sa ilaha or kanang naka-negotiate niya, then katong na business na pod, ibaligya na pod nila. This is a new problem nowadays. This is the trend for the B2B nowadays because of the tariff war from China and America. Grabe. Because of that, majority of the big businesses in the US, ang supplier ba nila is ang China. So, automatically, their B2B business is affected because of the tariff war. Okay, now let's proceed to the business to consumer. So this typically is an online businesses try to reach individual consumers. So B2C revenue model sources, this include the following: advertising, subscription, transcription, transaction, sales, and affiliate. This is very common. Example of this are the online selling such as Shopee or kanang mga Lazada or even TikTok shop. Okay, the supply chain management factors naman tayo. What are the factors that must be considered in the supply chain management? So, these are the following: the consumer expectation and competition, of course. We need to consider this factor because na every now and then changes in consumer expectation and present uh, intensive competition are very present. Okay? Globalization, capitalize on emerging markets, and government regulation and e-commerce. So, this is somehow the most problematic part because every now and then, if the government regulation will be changed, automatically e-commerce will be affected. Especially if pabago-bago masyado yung mga different government regulation from different countries. The number one thing na maapektuhan talaga is the e-commerce or the e-business because of this one. If there's a certain issue, especially now that we are on the tariff war, yun talaga. Affected talaga yung e-business or e-commerce. Another thing is environment application of e-commerce. So here, recycling, sustainable eco-efficiency, and waste minimization. Because we need to consider talaga the environment in all business we do, in all aspect that we must do. Okay? Global SEM factors. Another factors to consider is the global. So here, geographically dispersed members, increased replenishment, transit times, and inventory investment, forecasting accuracy, complicated by longer lead times and different operating practices because the more it is global, the further it can get, and the the possible that it can create inaccuracy of the delivering the product. Okay, exchange rate. This is very normal. infrastructure issues like transportation, communication, and the like, and product proliferation, created by the need to customize product for each market, especially if it involves globally. In international marketing, this must be considered. Next, sourcing issues. So we have these issues. We have vertical integration, a measure of how much of the supply chain is owned by the manufacturer. We also have backward integration, owning or controlling of sources of raw material and component parts. Forward integration, owning or control the channels of distribution. So vertical integration related to levels of sourcing, of insourcing or outsourcing products or services. So kailangan ba natin mag-insource lang or mag-outsource, or ano ba yung mas strategic sa atin? Mag-buy ba or mag-create na lang ng product within our supply chain. Okay, in sourcing, so typically before deciding to have it in source or outsource, you need to consider the following question. We have three. Is product service technology critical to firm success? Is product service a core competency? And is it something your company must do to survive? So those are the basic questions you need to consider before deciding if you're going to insource or outsource a certain product. Okay, make or buy analysis is one tool to consider. So this is an analysis. We'll look at the expected sales levels and cost of internal operation versus cost of purchasing the product or service. So for the outsourcing, you have this formula. For the insourcing naman, you have this formula. For the indifference point, you have this for you to determine whether to buy or make a certain product. Okay, for example, make or buy analysis, Mary and Sue have decided to open a bagel shop. Their first decision is whether they should make the bagel on site or buy the bagels from a local bakery. If they buy from a local bakery, they will need airtight containers at a fixed cost of $1,000 annually. They can buy the bagels of $0.40 each. If they make the bagel in-house, they will need a small kitchen at a fixed cost of $15,000 annually. It will cost them 0.50 per bagel to make. They believe they will sell 60,000 bagels. So Mary and Sue wants to know if they should make or buy the bagels. So by using the formula, they will have this 56,000 bagels. Okay. So since the costs are equal at 56,000 bagels and and Sue expect to use 60,000 bagels, they should make the bagels in-house. So typically the result is for you to make the bagels in-house na lang rather than buy a bagel. Mas cheaper siya or mas makaano sila, mas strategically aligned sa kanila if they make it rather than buy it. Okay, let's proceed to the role of purchasing. So purchasing role has attained increased importance since material costs represent 50 to 60% of cost of goods sold. So you need to consider this in purchasing. You have this ethics consideration. Because ethics consideration, you need to think if there is no conflict of interest between the suppliers and you and the other partners. Need to develop supplier relationship because this is very vital. Good relationship to your supplier will make an advantage for you. Determining how many suppliers to use. If one supplier can cater your need or not, then you must consider um, looking for another suppliers. Two or more will do in order for your production to have a effective cycle. Developing partnership, this is very important, especially if it will make you it will make ano ba, it will increase or it will fast it will make the production more effectively. So probably number one of this is partnering to a government agency that will be beneficial for your side, or for looking for a public or private agencies or suppliers na mas makahatag og mas nindot na quality for your raw materials and the like. Okay, you need to sorry. You need to there are also critical factors that you must consider for you to have a successful partnership relations. This include impact, intimacy, and vision. For the impact, attaining levels of productivity and competitiveness that are not possible through normal supply relationship. Intimacy, working relationship between two partners, and vision, the mission of or objectives of the partnership. Okay? For example, have a long-term orientation or strategic in nature ba ang partnership, share information, share risk and opportunities. They must also share a common vision, share a long-term plans, and driven by customer needs. So this is very important. So kailangan talaga before partnering, make sure that they're aligning with your strategic goals, strategic vision, because if not, that partnership will be useless. Example ani is katong isa ka co-op sa Tarragona. So kato na co-op, they have this coffee produced or coffee growers sila. So they have this partnership with a government agency like DTI o isa pa ka private supplier, private company na naapoy mga coffee seedlings. So by there, since naa sila partnership with this, kanina grower ng co-op, naa sila advantage because tungod sa DTI, tungod silang partnership sa DTI o katong isa ka private supplier ng coffee seedling, dili na sila maglisod every now and then kay naa man sila makuha na planting materials kada planting season. So by that, makita yun nimo na paspas ang production cycle ng co-op because of their partnership. That's the beauty of this partnership. Kaya if you're going to look for a partnership, make sure it will always strategically align for your long term talaga. Okay, so benefits of the partnering, we have this early supplier involvement, using supplier expertise, and of course, shorten time to market. We also have the supply chain distribution. So sa supply chain distribution, we have these warehouses. So kaning warehouses, this is typically for the storage, the product mixing, the consolidation, and of course, para faster ang delivery ng product from one point to another. So this will also include a plant warehouse, regional warehouse, and local warehouses. Okay, transportation consolidation. Warehouses consolidate less than truckload quantities into truckload quantities. Product mixing, warehouse value-added customer service of grouping a variety of products into a direct shipment to the customer. Services are offered can improve customer service by moving goods closer to the customer and thus reducing replenishment time, restocking or movement of materials without storage, and order picking material while still performing the receiving and shipping function. So, these are the following modern supply chain management or the modern supply chain management technology. RFID, mga EDI, POS, and barcode. Okay, integrated supply chain management. So implementing an integrated supply chain management, of course, you need to analyze the whole supply chain before you integrate a certain um, chain or a certain network. You need to analyze talaga if it can beautify or it can help the chain or not. Starting by integrating internal function first, then integrate mo yung external suppliers through partnership. So your goal now in terms of manufacture is to reduce cost. You need to analyze if it is reducing cost ba, if it will reduce duplication of effort, improve quality, or reduce lead time, and so on. For the supplier naman, you must consider if it will increase your sales volume, if it will increase your customer loyalty, again, reduce cost pa rin, and improve demand data, and of course, profitable ba siya or not. Okay, measuring supply chain performance. Typically, it uses the following: the financial ratios like return on investment, profitability, market share, revenue growth. So here, alam naman natin na if there is a longer time for you to have a return with ROI or asset turnover or net turnover, naagi something wrong sa ato ang supply chain. Probably, na ay isa ka network area dito na you need to consider or you need to analyze because of those factors. Okay? Of course, we also have these additional measures to consider in supply chain naman. Supply chain performance, we have this customer service levels, inventory turns, weeks of supply, inventory obsolescence. Here, customers' demand for better quality requires companies to develop ways to measure improvements. This is very essential kasi with this supply chain performance measurement, you'll be able to determine what is lacking and how to improve the quality so that you can attain the customer satisfaction na yun talaga yung pinaka main goal. And by that, you can increase naman profitability if they will if you will attain those better performance using the supply chain. Okay, some measurement includes naman is warranty cost, product return, cost reduction allowed because of product effects, company response times, and transaction cost. These are somehow naman para namang market strategy rin nila for them to really determine what is lacking and for them to kumbaga naa sila other ano ba other way to cover up their lapses. Okay. So I will not further read the current trends in the supply chain management. This is also one of those highlights. So these are the highlights of chapter 4. Okay. And the rest. So again, e-commerce and supply chain management talaga will help become more competitive, especially if it is customer focused. So with the use kanina ng mga technology in the supply chain management, you can improve coordination, and of course, the main goal there is to reduce cost and improve service to the customer. Especially karon no, diri sa tua, locally, we are in a rural area. So, from farmers talaga tayo, from farm up until the end user, you can really see the network or the supply chain of a certain commodities and the like. So, I guess that's it. So, next meeting or next recording, I'll be discussing the total quality management. So, next meeting, we are going to have an open forum for the topics and see you. Bye.